Games Workshop have just gone on an insane purge against Warhammer 40k content creators, and it is absolutely wild. There has been a flurry of takedowns by Games Workshop against a whole host of different projects. Some of them are the creators of Warhammer videos that have gotten millions of views. Millions. The last time we saw this level of attack on the community was probably during the NDA scandal a couple of years back. That was during the Emperor text-to-speech device controversy, which was a massive event in the Warhammer community. And in a lot of ways, Games Workshop never got over that. But now, it's happening again. And not just to one creator, but to a whole bunch of them. And it is extremely revealing of Games Workshop's attitude towards the Warhammer community and fandom. But now, people are starting to push back. Now, I first heard about this from a relatively small YouTube channel called Otsu. They make Warhammer 40k CGI animations, or at least they did. And importantly, the channel is not a monetized YouTube channel. They were doing this for the sheer passion of the thing. Unfortunately though, that did not matter to Games Workshop because Otsu received a number of copyright takedowns from Games Workshop, all for a CGI fan trailer that they had made about the Imperial Guard in Warhammer 40k. Now, I saw this video when it was first shared around a few different Warhammer subreddits, and it was pretty cool, and it was really well animated, and it was clear that a lot of passion and skill had gone into its creation. And honestly, in my personal opinion, it was incredibly inoffensive. It basically featured Imperial Guardsmen running around and being little scamps in a forest. It also wasn't the only video on the channel. There were a few others as well, mostly parody videos featuring Space Marine Black Templars at a gym, and one where they beat up some orcs. Yeah, that does sound like my Black Templars. Now, I guess I can't even show you these videos because then in theory, Games Workshop could send me a copyright takedown too, like a copyright takedown inception. Though they are shown without audio on another content creator's channel who now I don't want to give the name of now that I'm talking about it in case Games Workshop are watching. You see the culture of fear that gets generated by this stuff? But regardless, it's clear to me that from the actual content that many of the videos that were taken down by Games Workshop were parody videos, meaning that they should fall within fair use and should be totally fine to exist without molestation. But it seems Games Workshop are just all into molestation, and as calls it as I sees it. Now, importantly, the thing about copyright takedowns on YouTube, like the ones that Games Workshop have sent out to creators, is that they can result in a content creator getting a copyright strike. And if you get 3 copyright strikes, your entire channel will be deleted by YouTube. Yes, Discourse Minis, all of this could disappear in an instant, and that's why I have a Patreon and rely on viewer support to keep the channel going. So, you know, subscribe! Because copyright takedowns are very, very serious for content creators, and they are a massive problem. I mean, as a content creator, they really are a huge threat that hangs over you like the sword of Damocles, or my dad waking up from his drink coma. Now, at the time of recording, the only video left on Otsu's entire channel is just an update saying that everything was taken down by Games Workshop, but that they plan on coming back bigger than ever. So, good luck to them, but unfortunately, it gets even worse from here, because other creators have now also begun getting takedowns from Games Workshop as well. Massive, humongous creators. Games Workshop are getting emboldened, and that is very scary. But could it be as scary as a massive earthquake that shattered the very foundations of the city you live within? Well, that's what you'll have to contend with if you want to get your loot and treasure in the brand new skirmish pirate game Port Royal from today's sponsor, Firelock Games. This is the spiritual successor to Mordheim that you've been dreaming of, with a beautiful hard plastic miniature range, innovative game mechanics, and more factions than you can shake a hook at. Port Royal is an action-packed narrative experience where you'll take a warband of 17th century rogues and do battle for plunder and glory in the ruins of a pirate city. But beware, the city and surrounding jungle holds some terrible secrets, and danger lurks around every corner. So then, will ye get glory or an ignoble end at the bottom of Davy Jones's locker? Only the dice and your wits can tell the tale. Port Royal can be played competitively, cooperatively, or even solo, so check it out now. You can click my link below to get 15% off everything on the Firelock Game Store, including the fantastic new starter set for Port Royal. It comes with full terrain set, tokens, accessories, dice, rulebook, everything you need to get playing. And of course, beautiful hard plastic and customizable character models for you to build your forces with. And thanks to Firelock Games for sponsoring today's video. FYI, I don't know what the videos will be about before I do these ads, so I thought today I'd be talking about some Space Marines or something, nothing quite this serious. On the plus side though, Firelock Games more than likely will not take down your videos if you do them about pirates. But speaking of which, a second copyright strike just hit the community. This one incredibly spurious in my opinion. So this is the channel Wolfen. They're another smaller Warhammer 40k fan animation channel, and there's still some videos up on there at the time of recording, but they recently received a copyright takedown for two of their videos, one called The Stand and one called The Ghost. Now presumably these were taken down by Games Workshop because well, it's not clear actually, which by the way, yeah, Games Workshop, they don't really justify any of their takedown requests. They just issue them through the YouTube system, and YouTube obliges. Now, Wolfen did actually dispute the copyright takedowns from Games Workshop, and they reached out to Games Workshop directly, saying that they're a fan, and asked them to help resolve the issue and get the videos reinstated, because the videos, you know, weren't monetized. Basically asking Games Workshop, be cool! And Games Workshop were not cool. In fact, they didn't respond at all, and now the videos are deleted, seemingly permanently. Irrespective of all the time and passion and effort and energy that Wolfen put into making all that free, non-monetized Warhammer content. Now, these two creators are both quite small, so who knows how many other pieces of content of similarly sized content creators have been taken down by Games Workshop as well, and we just don't know about it. I mean, I only know about Wolfen because Janovich, another animator and YouTuber who was behind the massive Siege of Frax animation video that got like 1.8 million views, although I personally prefer his Venga Boys video that got 4.1 million views. He covered the takedown of both Wolfen and Otsu in a series of videos on this topic that I would recommend, and his channel is linked below. And it's ironic that he made these videos because after he covered all the takedowns of smaller creators, Games Workshop then went after him as well. They issued copyright strikes against a bunch of his 3D models that he uses in fan animations that he created and hosts on Sketchfab. These are totally free 3D models, not monetized, and importantly, they are for animation. They can't be used as 3D print materials. You can't just print these on your 3D printer. So it's weird that Games Workshop went after them when they've been up there for a really long time, presumably, and it kind of sounds a bit like it might have been politically motivated, an attack on him for speaking up in support of other creators. That might be a bit far-fetched, but I mean, Games Workshop have opened themselves up to these types of allegations with the aggressive nature of their takedowns, and it really feels like Games Workshop have declared war on Warhammer fan animation. And that might be because it's been a few years since the original controversy around Games Workshop's attempts to control fan content online, back when Games Workshop tried to get creators to sign a non-disclosure agreement that was completely onerous and, by the way, absolutely insane. But now maybe Games Workshop hope that everyone has forgotten all about that and they can now go after fan animations again. So why? Why is Games Workshop going after the Warhammer 40k community like this? Well, people argue that Games Workshop own the trademark to many of the things that appear in these videos. You know, the Imperial Aquila, the Space Marines, the generic Imperial Guardsmen who are identical in looks to the guys out of Starship Troopers. Ooh. Yeah, let's not get too deep into that one, because I think we could go a few steps back. But people argue that the existence of these objects in fan animations gives Games Workshop the right to take these videos down. But I think it's a mistake to even begin arguing about the legality of these takedowns. The central question at hand here isn't really about whether or not Games Workshop can do it, because YouTube ain't stopping them, but whether or not they should do it. The fact is, Games Workshop do not need to go after Warhammer animated content. I mean, I know there's a myth out there on the internet that companies must try and shut down any use of their trademarks in public, but that's just not true. That's a myth.
Pure fiction. It's a total fabrication.
No company has a positive obligation to proactively search for and find fan content in niche, obscure places and issue takedown requests to creators. Many of those creators, in fact, don't even have a ton of views. Use of trademark terms in fan animation does not undermine any future claims of being able to copyright anything from the Warhammer universe for Games Workshop. It doesn't harm their company or IP in any way. In fact, it's the opposite. It's helpful. It's a ton of free advertising. It creates more fans. It gives people more free content. It creates more engagement in the brand. Hell, as a creator, I would love for people to be making free CGIs of me and sharing them online. Actually, no, I wouldn't. I know exactly where they would end up. Don't. But people think the Games Workshop have to do this, but they don't. Fan animation is essentially fan fiction, and every video that was taken down by Games Workshop clearly labeled itself as fan animation. So it wasn't even like these videos were going to confuse anyone or trick people into thinking it came directly from Games Workshop, nor was it hurting or diluting the Warhammer IP. I mean, does anyone else remember machinima animations for World of Warcraft? Am I the only person who remembers this? There was an entire industry of videos going out about World of Warcraft and Blizzard, and nobody batted an eyelid because everybody understood that it was cool, that it was fun, that it was great for everyone. And Blizzard did not go after any of the fan community either. I miss when Blizzard were cool. So what's the difference here? Well, aside from the fact that Games Workshop are notorious IP trolls who have done things like try to sue an author for using the term Space Marine, there is a reason that they have started to go after fan content creators right now, and why they've even hired a bunch of copyright trolls to go through the internet and take things down. By the way, if you didn't know that, that's correct. Games Workshop do in fact have an entire department and a snitch line that you can reach out to dedicated to finding IP infringements. And yes, that is insane. At least there's jobs for the Randalls out there in the world. But still, maybe there shouldn't be. And this demonstrates that Games Workshop want to go after fan content. This is their desire. Games Workshop don't like fan content. It appears that they don't care about fans at all. And though there are obviously lots of employees within Games Workshop who are very dedicated and passionate about Warhammer and the wargame hobby, I doubt they're going to be found in the Games Workshop infringements office. And even if they are, their hands are tied by Games Workshop executive diktat. This is all not about obligation. It's the Games Workshop want all of this content gone. They want to own everything. But why? Well, Games Workshop have always been overly protective of their IP, but I feel like this really goes back to Games Workshop's Warhammer Plus program. You know, the digital animation service that Games Workshop run? Well, this was a massive turning point in Games Workshop's treatment of the fan, animation, and content creator community. And the reason for that is because its existence turned fan creators and animators from advertising boons for the Warhammer 40k game into competitors for Games Workshop's own digital $7 a month service. Like, look at Astartes, for example. That got millions of views when it was first released, and it would 100% be at risk of being taken down by Games Workshop policies today. In fact, it was when Warhammer Plus was launched, until there was a huge outcry and Games Workshop hired the animator behind Astartes and put it up on their own platform. Honestly, I think in the mind of Games Workshop executives, the existence of free Warhammer 40k fan videos on the internet is the only reason why millions of people, the ones who maybe watched Astartes, aren't paying Games Workshop $7 every single month for Warhammer Plus. If they just get rid of all the free content, those millions of viewers will have to pay for Warhammer Plus. They'll have to get their supply somewhere. But this is obviously wrong. Most people aren't going to pay $7 a month for Warhammer content. So Games Workshop should stop their attacks, in my opinion. This entire project of taking down fan animations, it's bad for everybody, including Games Workshop, even if they don't know that, because most people will not subscribe to Warhammer Plus, but they are on YouTube. And it was the breakout hit of animations like Astartes that I think is genuinely one of the major reasons why Warhammer 40k is so popular Warhammer today. These things are really important. So it really sucks to see Games Workshop actively trying to shut it down. And it's going to get worse before it gets better. There's even allegations now that Games Workshop are using AI bots to scrape the internet for anything. I've even read accusations that Games Workshop have taken down literally 3D printable stick figure miniatures. This is a brave new world, and Games Workshop are arming themselves with a lot of weapons. So I think the community needs to rally around content creators. There needs to be an outcry, especially considering that many of the creators who are being targeted are smaller content creators who can't really fight a juggernaut like Games Workshop over this sort of thing alone. This is hurting the game, it's hurting the community, so we need to talk about this more. People need to be aware of what's happening in the community before even bigger creators are gone after. So yes, there is an element of self-preservation here on my side, because if Games Workshop are going after people who show things like Space Marines and Imperial Aquillas on their videos, then no doubt GW will eventually feel empowered and emboldened to shut down all sorts of content that they don't like. And I assume that they don't like me. I mean, they laughed at me at Warhammer World, so that wasn't, not fans, I think. So we need to nip this in the bud right now. There are links to each of the afflicted channels in the description of this video that I'm aware of, but if you know more, let me know in the comments below. And if you like this video and want to support my channel and get bonus videos, live streams, and be part of a hobby community that think down with this sort of thing, then check out my Patreon below, patreon.com/discourseminis. YouTube has started cutting ad revenue and my videos have been getting demonetized, so I rely on your support to keep making this type of content. Thanks so much for your help, and thanks to all my patrons, especially CryptoKev, and I'll catch you all next time. Bye bye.